useful.
I'm sorry.
I'm glad you did that. Irrespective of which industry you're coming from, whether you are in retail, financial services, healthcare, our goal is to help you organize the information that you get. These are some of the customers innovating with BigQuery. As I said, irrespective of whether you are in retail, healthcare and life sciences, financial services, media and entertainment, and we'll go through some of the use cases at towards the end of the presentation. Gaming, energy and manufacturing, or auto and transportation. So we work with different industries across the board and offer our solutions that can help you innovate and make the most of the data that is available with you. Now, why customers from different industries love working with us, specifically with BigQuery? So at Home Depot, the goal was to accelerate time to value and lower the TCO, total cost of ownership, jumpstart new businesses, and address the key requirements. At Zulily, it was get instant insights with real-time analytics. 2 decades back, there was a time when people were really easygoing, even with financial reports. It was mostly batch-based data warehousing system. You upload data once a day, mostly during the night times when you run analytics, and everyone was fine. Fast forward to 2022. Now everything is real time. You want insights out right out of the system. The moment the data hits your data warehouse, you won't have to run analytics on top of that. With 20th Century Fox, specifically the new division specifically focused on sport, they want to realize the power of advanced analytics, how they can approach their advertising partners, media management, and things like that. And with AccuWeather, share data insights at scale. Specifically now, if you're on the East Coast and in the hurricane season, you want to make that prediction right to the moment to make sure that you're covered from any unknown weather calamities, how you can plan and address those as things evolve. And if you are in a financial services industry like HSBC, your goal is to protect your data and operate with this. This is how some of our customers are utilizing it. Now, we have built the world's most comprehensive analytics platform from the ground up. It's built in the cloud and for people to take advantage of it. We have different silos, how to address different requirements. We start with data capture. So we have data ingestion at scale, irrespective of whether you're working with streaming devices, you're working with data transfer service, or you're doing batch. We work with you to ingest the data that you have. We have data processing tools and technology like data flow, data prep, so you can cleanse your data and load that into your data warehouse. We offer you choice from a data storage perspective. So irrespective of if you are dealing with structured or unstructured data, you can put it on Google Cloud Storage, or you can put it in BigQuery storage. We give you the tools to analyze your data, example, BigQuery. And then from a reporting perspective, once that data is available, how you can make the most out of it. We give you choice. So you can use Looker, you can work with Sheets if you're comfortable with it, or you can use Google Data Studio. Again, there are some announcements that were announced at Next from a Data Studio perspective. And if you are into machine learning and if you want to build models, we do offer Vertex AI and Cloud AI platform that you can make the most of the data. Now, BigQuery is at the heart of Google Cloud Smart Analytics platform. Now, why it's unique? So it's fully managed and serverless. You bring your data in, and you don't have to worry about managing the underlying infrastructure or maintaining your queries. It gives you the ability to work with real-time insights over streaming as well as batch data, and it has built-in machine learning. So you don't have to move your data from BigQuery into a machine learning platform. It's built from the ground up, so you can make the most of the data that is available. And even we offer support for in-memory data analytics with BI engine for blazing fast reporting out of the box. So if you're dealing with traditional OLAP-based systems, you can take advantage of those and you can generate reports right out of the box. Now, don't take my word for it. This is what Forrester has to say. They recognize Google Cloud as a leader in the data analytics space. And this is proof of it. I don't want to get into the details with that, but if you want, you can definitely go back and take a look at it. Our goal is to empower the future of data analytics with BigQuery. Now, BigQuery has become a critical part of our and yours data analytics strategy. On the left-hand side, we offer the tools and the connectors so that you can bring data in from different Google data sources like Google Ads, YouTube Ads, Google Analytics, Firebase, or even Display and Video 360. In addition to that, we work with third-party vendors. As an example, if you are utilizing Salesforce CRM or SAP as an ERP, we definitely work with partners so you can bring data from different sources and consolidate that in your enterprise data warehouse. You can analyze and visualize your data with tools from Google, as we have seen, whether it's Looker, Data Studio, or third-party tools like Collect or MicroStrategy and some others. And you can activate. So you can run analytics on top of that. You can activate your data. So you can, build your marketing strategies depending on the results that are coming out of your ad platforms or the feeds that you're getting from your social media platform. Now, what is BigQuery? As I said earlier, BigQuery is Google's flexible analytics solution that performs high-speed, scalable, and interactive analysis on data. It's built from the ground up in the cloud for data analytics. It sits under the data big data product category. It works with structured as well as unstructured data. You can scale up from 0 to petabytes. And I personally have worked with a few customers that are running petabyte scale data warehouses. It is built on the principle that double the amount of data query should not take double the amount. That's physics in standard terms. BigQuery can adapt to your data at any speed. So as I said earlier, you can scale from bytes to petabytes with zero operational overhead, no administration required, no fine-tuning required. You just bring your data, load that data in, and you're good to go. Now, in addition to that, BigQuery is a flexible multi-cloud offering. So irrespective of if your data is residing in Azure or AWS, you can leave your data. You can use BQ only so that you get a single plane of management, single plane of data insights, and you can work with it, gain insights, build machine learning models, run machine learning models out of the box without moving that data and getting into the egress and ingress costs associated with it. Now, our goal is to give you data-driven innovation that gives you limitless data cloud. We will get into this and we'll talk about limitless data, a limitless workload, and a limitless reach one by one. So let's start with limitless data. So we will cover about completely serverless. So you can work with it. We work with all types of data. As I said, whether it's structured, unstructured, or semi-structured, we work with it. We have different data exchanges, how we can share that data with partners, vendors, and third parties. It works with all workloads, and it's built for everyone, so everyone can take advantage. Let's get into the details and talk about limitless data to begin with, and then we'll get into the other two. So why BigQuery specifically from a limitless data perspective? So it's completely elastic. You don't have to worry about adding servers or adding storage just to address your requirements. You bring your data in and it grows as your requirements go. It's the terminology that we use, it's called BQ slots. It's a virtual machine with a set of memory dedicated to it. Initially, there are two models, so you can use capacity on demand. You pay for the data that you're processing, or you buy and rent out a specific number of slots. You can run n number of queries. We don't care about your data utilization. As I said earlier, we work with structured, semi-structured data, whether it's JSON, unstructured data, text, images, Parquet, JSON, nested table, and geospatial tables as well. So you can bring in your data, work with it. We simplify data type management for you, so you don't have to worry about it, and you can make the most out of it. Now, in a multi-cloud world, obviously there are systems, everyone loves choice, and we respect that. So if you have systems in AWS or Azure, you can still use BigQuery Omni that gives you cross-cloud analytics, so you don't have to move your data around. You can leave data at the source, and we work with Microsoft, Amazon, as well as Google. So same user experience across the board, and you can make the most of the data that is available to you. Similarly, structured and unstructured data. So we have introduced the concept of BigQuery, so you can leave your data where it resides. If it's in AWS, the only requirement should be in block storage. As long as it's in AWS block storage or Microsoft Azure block storage, we work with you, and you can share data and run analytics across the board. Data exchanges is a new concept that we've introduced. So you have all this data, but from business perspective, it's important that you share that data with your partners for running analytics, compliance reasons, or generating reports, or maybe share data for certain business cases like order fulfillment and some other thing. So we help you control the process with the analytics hub for data sharing, where you authorize the subset of data that you want to share with your partners. You control the process, and you control who, how, and when has access to that particular set of data, and you are in control. If you can even build workflows to authorize data access. At the same time, you can track who has access to that data, what they did with that data, and things like that. And the next step further is how you can monetize that data and make the most of it. All workloads. Now, SQL, Spark, Search, and Stream are some of the workloads. On Google, I know in case of CBS, most of the folks here are with CBS. Spark, Hadoop is a platform of choice. So on Google Cloud, specifically on BigQuery, serverless Spark is first-class citizen. We offer support for serverless Spark. So, we have done some analysis in the past. Most of the time, developers spend, specifically when you are dealing with Spark, 60% of the time is spent in building that infrastructure, managing the infrastructure, doing administrative tasks. In case of serverless Spark, you bring your data in, you don't have to worry about it. So that time that is available for a data scientist or a developer will be fully dedicated in building data models and other things that are required from a business perspective, instead of spending time on management and administrative tasks. Stream analytics. Sometimes it really helps to understand the use case. Like sometime back, I was talking to an online retailer. These days, pretty much everyone has an online portfolio, and we were talking about the importance of streaming data ingestion. Streaming plays a key role specifically in online shopping because, depending on the browsing patterns, you can make recommendations right away, or saying it's like, hey, people who browse through these products may like XYZ as well. So these are certain things that are available right out of the box that you can take advantage of it, and provide recommendations, grow your pipeline, and say at the same time, have an impact from a revenue perspective on your day-to-day business activities. With built-in AI/ML, specifically with BigQuery, we know most of our developers are comfortable writing code in SQL. So with BigQuery, you can make the most out of the data that is residing in BigQuery. If you know SQL, you can write a model, build right away, execute a model, and make predictions out of the data right out of the box.
And this, sorry, one question. Are these capabilities available or on beta? Like the export develop models in BigQuery to Vertex AI?
It's available.
It's available.
Yeah.
That should be interesting.
Yeah, and the model is written in SQL, so
Correct, yeah.
it's easy three-step process. You write a model, execute it, and you're good to go. And we give you the flexibility so you can export model out of it into whatever or the other way. Any other question?
I guess on the chat, we have one question. Which is Jonathan has. Can you click on the chat? I guess
Sorry?
you have to click
I have to click, okay.
in the chat.
Can you show the chat?
Can you show the chat? or-
Yeah, I can state my question is that
Okay.
in very beginning of the slide, you did mention about you have two choices. One is a PubSub, another is IoT core. So both of them can be served for streaming purpose. Can you
Yep.
do a comparison between these two in terms of capability, these kind of a technical perspective?
I think, Jonathan, that might be a moot point because Google has withdrawn the core IoT product now. So it's no longer available for future customers.
Oh, so basically Google will recommend a PubSub for
Mhm.
streaming.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonathan. Any other questions online?
I like that product a lot. I don't know why it was withdrawn. I still can't figure it out. It's not there anymore.
Is there a specific strategy that
Sorry.
Google recommends, right? If I have data mesh or data catalog in multi-clouds, right?
Mhm.
Usually what happens is that I have my, it's not just, don't view as a data lake kind of thing. Having a closed kind of data mesh within the each cloud, right?
Mhm.
So that is a system of record. But let's say if I wanted to basically have BigQuery platform as my real system of record, so I actually still just. So what is the pattern that you will actually kind of recommend? You can consider that as, because you told, and I need to have the data sources along. It's one requirement we need to know. So I think that's a kind of a hard.
So the strategy that we have adopted is to leave the data at source. We don't want you to replicate it. But when you're dealing with third parties, specifically, just take an example, Oracle, because they are the leading database in that. They have their own format. And from a Google perspective, I need to have that insight into that data. So we need to convert that data that is in a readable form. So if it's an open source database, say MySQL as an example, we know how MySQL operates. But if I'm dealing with a black box offering like Oracle or say SQL Server as an example, then I don't have insight. Unless I have insight into it, I cannot do much with it. Or take Snowflake or the Teradata for that matter. So this is where we have to have that requirement where it has to be converted into a format that can be readable. Or one of the generic formats
I
like
understand
Spark.
probably you're doing that overhead of converting to BigQuery understanding. That part is
Mhm.
clear. The part is, if I have data mesh, what is the model that you are basically BigQuery, right? Are you considering that as kind of other data source that you can connect them to?
Okay, got it. Okay. So in this case, it's like an external table where we can read it from there. Okay. Okay. That's where we are coming from. So it has to be one of the formats where you can directly connect and read, or you have to have a connector like ODBC or JDBC where you can make a connection and then read that information.
Of course, then latency comes in, right? So if that's acceptable, then that's good.
Yeah,
Yes.
always there.
And by the way, I have a slide coming up, so we'll try to address it. It's talking about transactional as well as analytics data. So we'll get there. Now, this is built-in AI/ML Vertex AI. I know that puts a smile on Manoj's face because he has been dealing with it on a day-to-day basis. So we do offer direct integration. This is for the benefit of others. Manoj pretty much knows more than I do at this point. So we do offer direct integration from Vertex AI into BigQuery, so you don't have to move your data. You can build model, take advantage of it right out of the box.
Yeah, so what Shakil is showing there is actually managed notebook. So the notebook is managed by Google, so you don't even have to manage the underlying entities. And on the left, you see all the icons. So one of the icons is BigQuery. So you click on that and you have BigQuery right there on that ID. You don't have to switch console to BigQuery. Then you also have the ability of using BigQuery magic keywords, percentage BigQuery BQ. And you can run stuff in the Python code.
I feel if there is a dataplex over there also. It is. I was placing a feature request. People mostly working on notebooks. If they wanted to see the lineage, they wanted to see metadata information in everything, they have to every time switch to the console,
Got it.
all that. So yeah,
That's a valid input. We can definitely take it back to.
And along with that, get so that you can store the source and get that. So it's basically a full-fledged.
Now, remote functions. So this is particularly something really interesting. And the reason I like is if you have worked with different databases, you have to learn their own language. So if it's a Teradata, you have to learn their own way of doing stored procedures. If you work with Oracle, you have to deal with PL SQL. If you have worked with SQL Server, you have to deal with T-SQL. What we have done is taken a different approach. So we give you the flexibility that you can write cloud functions, and we don't care whether you write them in Node.js or Python or Go or Java or .NET for that matter. So whatever you guys are comfortable, you can write a remote function, call it through BQ, and voila, that does the matter. So that's the beauty of it, and that's the reason I like it, because it gives you flexibility and a lot of choice.
we use
Instead of-
this a lot. All our encryption functions are
There you go. The whole voltage deployment, you're
Yes,
using
yes.
cloud function, to
Yes.
call a function, encrypt that data, bring it back, decrypt it, and you're good to go. So that gives you a lot of option and opens up a lot of things. So this is where we're coming from, the analytics, how we are addressing the requirement and, data residing in different. forms. So we give you a choice. Now, before coming to Google, and when I say before coming to Google, it has been over 5 years. I worked for Oracle, and Oracle, if you're following them, they've been dealing with OLTP data, one of the best databases in the market at that time. But when you're dealing with OLAP, we had Hyperion. So you have to have that nightly job or a job running every 3 hours to pull data out of your transactional system into OLAP and then run reporting off of it. In this scenario, what we have done is we give you a centralized place. So the same thing, it's like a federated query where you can go against a SQL Server database or Cloud SQL as we call it. So it can be MySQL, Postgre, or Spanner for that matter. We have data flow and data streams, so you can run the back jobs that you're used to, or you can do federated queries, or even do materialized views. So you can leave your data in cloud storage and run analytics on top of that. But the good part in this case, it's like we know the format of data. Like Cloud SQL, we know what Postgre or MySQL is utilizing, so we can definitely do against it. And you have a unified view in the data. Another interesting thing from my past life is when big data started out as a concept, everyone was like trying to get on the big data bandwagon. People built and made huge investment. They were capturing feeds from social media. And then all of a sudden they realized, what do I do with all this data? Unless you make that connection with the big data feed that you're capturing from social media to your CRM and ERP systems to tie it to a particular customer, that doesn't make sense. If you're just having a single view of your big data, unless you're tying it back to your transaction system and CRM systems to make the most of it. So this is the approach that we have taken internally, and it has worked out good so far.
Yeah, and you have a choice of file formats also on storage, right? You can have the CSV format or Parquet or Arrow, depending upon what you're shooting for, and that will get those kind of characteristics.
BigQuery has some key features that will give your data organization the ability to use advanced analytics. When I see that, we've already seen BigQuery ML. BigQuery GIS is again one of the useful things. where you can run analytics, like going back to the AccuWeather use case. Once you know, like, hey, we are anticipating a tornado or hurricane, what will be the radius of that will be impacted? So you can run analytics, you can send out alerts to folks. It's like, hey, we are anticipating this event, so please evacuate this region or that, or the other way around, if you're in retail, like, hey, I have a store in this zip code, this is the area that I'm anticipating to cover. Shall I set up another store in like 50 miles apart or 100 miles apart and address the customer base?
Yeah, I'm interested in Black Friday. Inventory, stocking the inventory enough for Black Friday.
And the example with connected sheets. So connected sheets is available as part of our Google Workspace offering. I know everyone has used spreadsheets in the past life someplace or the other. People are comfortable with. So in this case, you can establish a connection to BigQuery or your database and run a simple analytics right out of the box and make the most out of it.
Yeah, so Google Sheets is our spreadsheet that is part of WordPress. So you can just connect that to BigQuery and run whatever graph structure. Typically, people like to have a Excel or something and connect up to data. So on the web, you don't have to maintain it. It makes it just as the way.
And anyone who has access to Gmail has access to the Google Workspace, Google Sheets, Docs, and everything else. And at the end of the day, for everyone. So how we are making sure that BigQuery is available to everyone. So irrespective of your job profile, whether you are a developer developing intelligent applications, you are a data engineer where you're dealing with cleaning data, loading data, and other routine stuff that goes along with it, or your data analytics, running analytics, building reports, or end user, where you don't care what's the underlying infrastructure is, your end goal is to make the most out of it, generate insights, or a data scientist working with AI, ML, and building models so that you can. And the most important role is the security, because specifically in healthcare or one of the regulated industries where you're dealing with personally identifiable information, or you have to comply with HIPAA or some other requirements. Security is the most important aspect. So you have to make sure the right people have access to the right set of data, and the data, when it leaves the boundaries of your organization, is in a secure format. So you don't have to deal with the consequences at a later. Any questions so far? Jen, anything online?
No.
Good. Now, built-in business intelligence. As me and Harry were pointing out, you can use Google Sheets. We have built-in analytics with Data Studio, and you can build data-rich experiences with Looker and Looker ML. Now, an interesting part is the Look ML is not ML. It's not machine learning. It's a layer that you can use to build nice.
Yeah, what's the name, right? Now it's called Looker
Yeah,
Pro, right?
yeah, I was going to say, just in this conference that's concluded in 2 weeks ago, what we've done is we've merged Data Studio with Looker, and now we call it Looker Studio. So there's a Looker Studio plus and a Looker Studio Pro. So it merges the functionality of both.
Oh, Looker was previously only in your marketplace. Now it is a service and it has merged with Data Studio.
Yeah. So let's go.
Yeah,
Looker
Looker.
Pro.
When you do a BigQuery on the one of the drop downs, it says analyze this data or something like that. And used to take it to Data Studio. Now it takes it to Looker and actually see.
We have a couple of dashboards in Data Studio. I did not probably I'll go back.
I found out because I knew you guy asked me like, okay, what's going on here? I'm like, okay, let me go.
Yeah.
And one of the interesting things that I like about Data Studio is you build a report, you share with it. Like, as an example, I build the report, I share with you. You can modify that report and share it with Mono or Highlight, and it goes on.
What is the next on the query?
Now,
Yeah, I was trying to say is that can you share some future feature or what's the next for the BigQuery? It is a very good product,
I don't
and
have.
what's the further improvement?
we will, Jonathan will come back and do a roadmap session for you at a later time.
Great, thank you.
Now, this is
I was just saying, I don't have a crystal ball, so I'm trying to look.
this is an interesting example. So right after lunch, we were talking about how the data analytics and machine learning and everything else has impacted sports. A decade ago, sports was sports. Now you walk into any field today, whether it's MLB or NFL, you see the coach and there are people running around with laptops and running a lot of data analytics on top of that, statistics. So this is an example here, the dashboard. This was built for the Oakland Angels, A's as they call it. And this is all about analytics. So where should we pitch? What is the probability that the batter will hit the ball and in a particular space? So this is how data analytics, machine learning has impacted sports as well. So this is an example, and just for the fun of it, I thought I would keep that and leave it here. To explore at a later time. So this is all that I had in mind from a product perspective. What we'll do next is get into the use cases, how folks are utilizing it in the industry. By the way, we have more than 700 plus partners and growing, and the partnerships are in the data store space, in data ingestion, prep process, governance, data science. I know we have data robot here, BI analytics, and some others. So we work with our end-to-end ecosystem that we have to offer, and we work with different partners, irrespective of in the reporting space, data capture, data cleansing, and things like that. Let's get into the use cases. At Home Depot, and I'm sure pretty much everyone has been in this space. We walk into a store, we have 8 to 10 things on our list to buy. 2 are not available, and it's like, hey, I want to get all 10, and you end up walking up. I've done that, I'm sure you have done that. So in this case, Home Depot is losing that revenue. What they have done is utilizing our offering. They make a prediction like, hey, this thing will be running out of shelf. How we can make sure that the shelves are stocked so that a customer is walking in and he's not walking out empty-handed. So you lose revenue, and that's where. So this whole thing started as a migration from a legacy data warehouse into BigQuery, and then they started utilizing our data analytics and AI/ML offerings to make the most of it. This is another example with Fox Sports specifically. So in this case, they are capturing data, specifically how the viewing patterns are, who is viewing what. The target age groups and things like that, and the goal is to optimize their advertisement so that they can offer advertising slots specifically on TV in a particular market for a particular age group, depending on the viewer profiles, their interest in things like that. The third one is Airbus. Now, Airbus is leveraging machine learning to say that. With the technology that is available, like I recently got back from an international trip, and there are cameras in the plane, so they take pictures. Now, this is really important so that Airbus can make a judgment. It's like, hey, this is a cloud or this is a snow-covered mountain and things like that. So they can make, and a lot of technology goes in. And I was told most of the time for landing and takeoffs, the pilot is not even actively involved. It's like all control automated, so that, but it's human in the loop, so they are still there. that it's like totally automated. So these are some of the things that they are in a position to make prediction depending on the photographs and everything, pictures that they have available with them. Sky is another example. So all those set-top boxes that we have in our homes when you're watching TV. So in this case, they have 3 million plus set-top boxes and 20 million plus. They are capturing real-time feed and making a judgment on that. Obviously, they have customer journeys, content promotion, click and buy kind of a scenario. So if you have an advertisement flying in and you like the product, you have the choice, you can buy it right away. And by the way, Sky is based out of the UK, so it's a little different than what you and me are used to here in the US. Spotify is another example where they're utilizing BigQuery to provide a fast, reliable, and secure experience to the end user. And I'm sure these days pretty much everyone has experienced Spotify. I think this is the last one, and the most important one is obviously, these days pretty much you walk into any bank or a financial institution, it comes with an app. So, and at times we change providers because we don't like the app. So this is where they are making the most out of it. So it reduces the customer care cost, specifically if you don't like and you make a call. It lowers app development cost and improves strategic decision making. So that's pretty much that I have in mind. Any questions? We'll open it up.
I think you took questions along the way. So.
Yeah.
No worries. So we'll conclude and summarize. So BigQuery and Google Data Analytics platform, we give you the option to quickly set up something. You bring your data in. You have a platform available that scales as your requirements grow. It gives you easy accessibility to your data, automatic high availability, so you don't have to worry about DR or taking backups and all like that. And we do automatic backups and snapshots, so you don't have to worry about it. You bring your data in, your developers will be focused on building applications that you can utilize instead of wasting time on admin and managing that. So that's pretty much what I have. Thank you for joining us. I kept it pretty much in line. 45 minutes was my goal with the
I'm not sure. Can I ask a question on the charge model?
The what model?
Charge model. I know. Let's say, BigQuery, we can purchase the slots. So slots means your CPU, memory, and etc. Right?
Yeah.
In terms of storage, is that so? The charge model is that the slots only just represent the compute, memory, these portion, and the storage is still separate, right?
Yeah. So Jonathan, the way BQ billing is concerned, we have separated storage and compute, and you. In the pay-per-use model, you pay for the amount of data being processed, but you pay for the data that is stored. And when you send for a specific number of slots, you buy, I'm just giving an example, 1,000 slots. And we don't care about the volume of data that you're processing. And in addition to these two, if you're streaming data and then you have to pay for, I think it's like 200 megabits, some charge for that. Because I don't remember the exact number, but I can look it up.
Yeah. So slots basically just to do whatever processing that covers that part. Storage is another side, right?
Yeah, BigQuery is mostly 90% of the cost is on compute. Every time you run a query, wherever it is, it scans the data. So based on that, so these slots are really helpful. You're paying upfront for your compute. So that way it is more as a reserved instances that you're paying on BigQuery. So that way you reduce your bill. So on-demand compute has been costly. We have been implementing this resource slots on our projects. It is helpful, but I still have questions. My even though I'm using slots, my BigQuery costs are same, but yeah, it is when you're considering on cost, it is completely on compute, not on the storage. Storage cost on BigQuery is very less.
So
Yeah.
these slots, right, these on-demand machines here, do you have mechanism to convert into synchronous spot?
No,
You can reserve the number of slots.
Yeah, you can reserve the number of slots. And it's like increments of 500 or
So when
100
you
something.
reserve the thing for the whole reservation,
yes,
Yes,
not like, let's say I use 100, I define minimum max.
no.
No.
Yes, you based on your usage, you request, I need 10 slots per your project. So it gives you a 10 slots charge, it charges on your project bill upfront for that month.
And currently does BigQuery support open table formats like currently I see like it doesn't support like Dataflow supports it in GCS bucket we can store BigQuery storage can be stored these open table formats.
okay. So BigQuery can work with BigQuery storage as well as cloud storage. So cloud storage, if it's unstructured data, you can put it in cloud storage.
Right.
And Dataproc is, you can still interact with it, but it's meant for like Hadoop based workloads. So that reason it's like more.
I think that last week they announced this coding iceberg, I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Last 2 minutes, so I saw the announcement.
So in their action there was some iceberg.
Yeah, that's what I saw you should. confirm.
so I know internally we were working in that direction, but I have to go back and check and continue.
And the your streaming, I think, is no matter I'm directly streaming from PubSub or in conjunction with data flow,
Yes,
they will be all considered streaming, right?
exactly. With BigQuery, you can write into stream and you can run analytics right the moment the data hits, even though it's not written into BigQuery storage. As long as it's in memory, you can run analytics on top of it.
But BigQuery does not directly expose, like say, streaming. You have to go through like PubSub
Yeah,
or
PubSub
data flow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a typical pattern.
Mhm.
Cool, thank you.
And BigQuery is a way to control the compute cost. Sometimes we see like users are running. Whenever you start a query, you should the estimate amount of data that's going to be processed. And it's actually in the metadata also that we can go and see the cost, how much a query costs you.
And if you run the same query twice, you just pay once.
Yeah, but sometimes developers like they write their inefficient queries. And when they run it, it runs, keeps on running for multiple 10 to 15 minutes. The compute cost spikes up very quickly. Is there a way to control that compute cost? By reserving a specific number of.
I think you can set limits, but the operation guy is a bit of a.
That's more at a project level.
You'll get an annual.
You can
It's
control.
working for us. You'll get an email, and now we have a,
Yeah, that alerts we can set,
no,
but.
yeah, we can have.
You can have quota as well as a lot.
The biggest challenge in currently is at user level, you can't set a quota.
Tenant level is.
Yeah, tenant level, or user level. At project level.
This project will be like 2000 slots and we don't need 2000 slots for simple query. But sometimes we end up using all the slots. So that's the reason why,
Sure. If you want, you can turn up recording because we
Yeah,
just talked.
this is-
Okay.